So I guess technically speaking, let's just try to follow policies. Always good to follow policies. I'm just going to create a blank spreadsheet because our normal template has dozens of links, and that would technically be against policy of Upwork because we're not supposed to share any external links until after you get hired.
Gotcha.
Yes. All right, cool. So I think we are ready to get started. So, I mean, for the first part, I mean, you can just jump into any questions you have. We can do introductions. However you want to get started is fine.
Yeah, I can introduce myself first. I'm Ian, and I'm from Argentina. I'm currently studying in Bethany College, and yeah, I'm 20 years old. I'm turning 21 in April. And yeah, that's a little bit of my stuff. I think you saw my experience in LinkedIn and in Upwork. And yeah, that's a little bit of me. And about questions, I had a few questions I couldn't understand very well about the full moon of the when it's paid. I couldn't understand very well that situation, and also the amount of hours that I will work. And also another question that I had is a question from that I had is what is important my jurisdiction in my country. Just I'm curious. I think that you need that stuff, but curious about that.
Is there a chat in here? Do you see a chat anywhere?
It should be.
I don't see it for some reason. Notes? Oh, let's try notes.
Maybe.
Oh, they just want us to take notes internal to the actual. It's so interesting. How does this work? Open view? That's so weird. All right, it doesn't look like we can even chat in this. This is really weird. Anyways, let's just not worry about it. So we'll just take notes on our side. Maybe, I don't know if you can see my screen. I guess not, but we'll just focus on one thing at a time. So I'm going to take notes, even though it's you can't really see it. Maybe I can share my screen simultaneously. I don't know. But anyway, so the questions were obviously about the full moon deadlines, about the time, so amount of time and work, and the third one was
jurisdiction. Just to be curious, I'm curious.
Yes, which has to do with all the value and equity. Cool. All right. So I'll get back to those questions. Let's just finish our check-ins, and I'll just say that I'm in California. Been doing this for a decade or more, and we are definitely not in a great shape. It's difficult. My background is mainly sustainability, environmental justice, really just wanting to see the world a better place. I've been working nonprofit primarily, although there's a lot of interest in for-profit social activities. So we do social profit, we do both, right? And we'll help anybody start any organization, any program, any activity they want to do. We kind of fell apart during the pandemic, and so we're working on getting relaunched at this time. And we're not doing a very good job of it. But I've worked with a lot of students in the past. It's always good to work with students, and I'll explain the situation in terms of your involvement. And lastly, we also have a couple other teammates here. We have Mamoon, another one. So once you get approved for, communicating externally, you can communicate with the whole team as opposed to just me. But you definitely want to be scheduling with me when we're doing the work and the founding and getting everything started and implementing the launch and actually getting organized, which is doing all the work. And I guess the only thing I'll say in terms of the work is that as a team and the cooperative model that is set up, we're no individuals responsible for doing the work. We're all responsible to make sure the work happens. So if we can figure out a solution to get the work done, hire another person, outsource, whatever it takes to get the work done is what is required. even if we can't do it ourselves. So that adds an additional challenge. All right, so let's go to Benjamin, and then we can see if Mamoon also wants to check in. Let's see here. Benjamin, or Mamoon, you want to check in real quick?
Yeah. Hi. My name is Mamoon, and I've been working on SDN for last 4 years, and working on in 99 and logs, payrolls, and reimbursement check. And very good to see new people here.
Thank you, Mamoon.
Pass to you, Jay.
Benjamin, do you want to check in real quick?
Hello.
Yes.
My name is Namna Brown. I guess you were referring to me as Benjamin, or is this someone else?
Let me make sure. It's always good to double check these things.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure you were scheduled to join us today, right? You're the one scheduling to join us.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So Nemo
Yes.
Brown.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes,
So my name
that
is
is
Namna
correct.
Brown.
There's also a Benjamin, yes. So I just mixed people up. There's a lot of people. Okay, cool. Nemo. And where are you from?
Okay. So my name is Namna Brown, and I'm from Nigeria. Currently in Lagos, Nigeria. Have been working, as a virtual assistant for some time now. And I worked with Wellnight Health based in California as a virtual assistant. That was my last job. And I have background in communication, mass communication, basically public relations and advertising. I have also background in nonprofit. I kind of have my own nonprofit organization, and I'm into advocacy, climate change, migration, and peace and security and all of that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
What was
that's
that
just a
first
little
thing
bit.
you said? The very first one before climate change?
Okay. I worked with Wellnight
Well,
Health.
no,
in
you said you
California.
listed all the things you're interested in: climate change, migration, peace, and security. But there was one other that I missed.
Oh, climate change. Climate change, peace and security, migration. I think that's pretty much it.
Right, no worries. Cool. Awesome. Continue if you have anything else to add.
I think that that's what I can say. I'm very happy to be here, and I look forward to meeting the whole team if I'm hired, or should I be hired. And I believe that I'm going to be an asset to this company and help the company achieve its goals and objectives.
Great.
Thank you.
Coolio. All right, so let's go to. Wait, before I go to Ian's questions, did you have any questions that you want to get out of your way at the beginning, Benjamin, or just go to Ian's questions? Or Benjamin, Namo. I say Benjamin.
Well, I think I have a question. I think I better just serve the question for now, and then as time goes on, I'll answer. So I just want to hear, from the beginning, from you first, and then, I believe while you're talking, I'll get to understand, and probably the question would not necessarily need to be answered anymore because you would have already answered it.
Okay. All right. So let's just go to Ian's questions. Deadline. So we do everything globally on the lunar cycle, I think a lunar solar calendar. The calendar itself is called the Selene calendar. It just so happens that there are trillions of moons in the galaxy, in the universe, but there is only one Selene. So our moon is called Selene. So we use the Selene calendar, and the full moon is just the deadline for when you can make for certain change, actions, which includes making changes to your budget. And you can change your budget every month, and then it takes effect 6 weeks later. So, we can talk about obviously many reasons of why that's true, but our core values are empowerment, engagement, bottom up organizing, grassroots collaboration. So we want to make sure that every individual is empowered with their own needs and their own goals. We always would rather not hire someone if they need money and they can go get money somewhere else where they're able to get the money that they need. Whereas here we have very limited budgets and funds, so we have to work with what we have, So if someone needs more money than we're able to provide, sometimes it's better to just not hire them, right? Instead of trying to negotiate a smaller amount, because we want to think about the individual's needs. In terms of the amount of time and the work, you have complete control over your own schedule and your own work. Obviously, you need to prioritize. Everyone has to prioritize what's important in their own lives, which includes going to school and getting your degrees and all that. Sometimes people prioritize church or their family or their kids. I mean, it just depends. Everyone's life's different. But you can choose how much time you want to work. Typically, working less than like 10 hours a week is pretty difficult, just because of the communications and engagement. It's like after you get through the initial just communications and training, getting organized for the week, there's not a lot of time left. But we can still work with whatever people have to do. We also even have a position, which is our decision maker position for the HR board, where people can just work like 3-6 hours a month and do their own work, which can be a lot more, how would you say, just a smaller amount of time, right? So just kind of have an oversight. As far as jurisdiction goes, then obviously we can go to more questions. Try to do this thing. It did not work at all. There we go. Oh, it looks like we lost Ian. That's interesting. Huh. Anyways, I'll answer the question anyways. The jurisdiction was the specifically jurisdiction related to your value and your equity. So everyone's local jurisdiction determines their local value in relationship to the minimum that we consider applicable for living, right? So it has to do with living. It's all based on livingcost.org, and we don't really see money as equivalency. It's all about the cost of living is the equivalency. So for example, if someone's making in essence $3,000 here in San Francisco, it would be the same as someone making $600 in Kenya or whatever, right? So it's just like that the cost of living and make sure people can pay their own local needs is the essential core of the process. And then from there, even if someone gets paid $400, they're still going to get the full $600 in equity value. So Ian, you're back.
I'm so sorry, you kicked me out of the meeting.
Weird. No worries. Did you hear any of what I was saying?
The last thing I could hear was that you follow the full moon.
Okay, full moon. Cool. Yeah, we'll go over it again. No worries. No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it happens. It's this very weird, the whole Upwork framework, where it's just like a little bit clunky. I'm not a big fan of Zoom. Obviously, I've used Zoom like hundreds of times, but it's not my favorite. We typically use Jitsi and a couple other more open source models. Anyway, so full moon was basically that, the deadline's the full moon to make changes for your POP, which is your public profile, which is your budget proposal, right? So anytime you want to change your budget, that happens by the full moon, and it takes effect 6 weeks later. So the individual always controls their own budget. They control their own time, their own schedule. And that's part of our core empowerment values. So anyways, I'll go to the other questions real quick, and then we'll go back. You can ask more questions. So the time you control your own schedule, your own time. Obviously, everybody has their own priorities in their life. For example, in your case, you have your work, your school, and your student, and you're getting your degree. Some people it's their family, other people it's the church. It just depends on each situation. So, we typically recommend definitely working at least 10 to 20 hours per week, because if you're working less than that, it can take, for example, let's say you only work 10 hours a week. you might spend 3-4 hours a week, if not more, just getting organized and communicating and getting, so there's not a lot of time for doing more work. But either way, it's still, we're still here to support anyone based on their own involvement and their own needs. As far as jurisdiction goes, everyone is calculated in terms of their value and their engagement based on their local jurisdiction. So it's not about money, it's about living and the quality of life. So if, for example, in California here in San Francisco, it's like $3,000 per month for base jurisdiction to pay your costs. Whereas like in Kenya, it'll be like $600 a month, depending on, you know, which city and everything. So we would say that $3,000 and $600 are like equivalent, right? So it's from there, it's a matter of making sure, like, let's say someone gets $200 for their budget. They're saying, okay, I'm willing to work 10 hours a week for $200 a month. If it's still, if their value for their local jurisdiction and their needs are more than that, they're going to get the rest in equity and value. So the jurisdiction is the foundation for our value system in relationship to your ownership and your equity and your you know, tokens and all that, right? So in the context of decision making and power in the cooperative, that is based on just contribution, and individuals are basically equal, right? So your ownership and your equity will be different based on your jurisdiction, but your actual power and your involvement is all basically equal based on time. Yeah, because everyone's time is equal, but people who live in different jurisdictions have less need for as much money as other people, right? So that's just the world that we live in. It's just a very weird situation we live in the world. But people, you know, I think Benjamin talked about migration. Migration is also very, Benjamin, I'm going to keep doing this. Nemo talked about migration, how important migration is. And that's also a very, very core priority for me, about empowering migration throughout the world. And so you can have multiple jurisdictions. If people want to move or want to change jurisdictions, that is completely allowed within our system. No one's stuck in any jurisdiction. Cool. So anyways, those are the first 3 questions. So let's open it back up to Ian and Nemo for more questions. And Mamoon, if you need to jump in with a question, feel free.
Thank you very much, Jerry. I think it's well understood, and my question will be, how do we determine, how does the company determine the standard of living, being that the economy of the world basically is fluctuating right now? Like, it gets crazy, you know, comes back up and all of that. But the main idea of the question is, how does the company basically determine the standard of living of the, you know, of a worker, to be able to pay them at that, you know, with that. Then secondly, why do we need to change our budget?
Those are good questions. The first one obviously is a solution-based question. I mean, those are the types of problems that we're trying to solve in the world, which is going to be, I mean, we don't know what the solutions are. We don't know what is going to make the world be more functional for normal everyday people, as opposed to just the billionaire and elite class. But in terms of just calculating something in the most neutral, fair way, we use livingcost.org. It just uses the cost of you know, how much it costs to pay for your different needs at your local location, and just it calculates out what the estimated value is, that so that everybody is considered equal and based on their cost of living, right? So livingcost.org is a really great example. There's obviously hundreds of living cost websites. That's the one we use because it just has very simple information of the information that we need, which is broken down into what is called the individual living cost and the family living cost, and the and family jurisdiction, right? So hopefully that's, I mean, we just try not to, like, you know, make any opinions about it or just, you know, assumptions, right? We're just using facts and data based on what is available and just trying to do our best with the information that we have. As far as your second question, which someone deleted, is that you, Mamoon, deleting the questions here? Why did you delete it? Okay, what does the company, why would you change your pay rate? That's it. So every single individual is encouraged to take the lowest pay rate they possibly can, right? Because our budget's very tight. We want to get people in the budget. We want to get as many people engaged as possible. So in that context, everyone should be able to control their budget both up and down. And it's part of our empowerment values. But the idea is that what happens in a lot of organizations and companies in the, I don't know, like normal places, is that it's all based on negotiation, and it's all based on, and you can spend literally thousands of hours in organization just wasted on negotiating better pay rates. And it's all about who can speak louder and have more pressure. And typically that benefits men, because men are typically, masculine energy is typically easier to push for better pay rates. So by just empowering each individual with their own pay rate, they typically are able to both go down and up based on the budget situations and their own needs, and make sure that it's clear to the organizations so that we can make a fair budget, if that makes sense. Does that sort of answer your questions, Nima? It's also, you could call it experimental, but it seems to be working, as far as just getting clarity on people's pay rates from the beginning. And so also people can get stuck in a pay rate too that doesn't work. And also with the cost of living constantly going up, 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 by having people control their own pay rates, it allows the change in pay rates to be based on the actual, market needs and individual needs, so that it's always evolving, as opposed to the needs of the bottom line of the company and the shareholders. Neymar, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Cool. I'm here. I got you. Thank you. That's cool. That helped.
Ian, any other questions that you have, or?
No, not at this moment.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So I think we're ready to go into the interview questions, which are pretty basic. I think we could attempt to do both of you at the same time. Mamoon, did you have any other questions? That's a no.
No, not at this time.
Okay. So basically, just to make sure we're on the same page, the next step is No, Mamoon. Okay. The next step is the temporary recruitment hire proposal. Do you both understand that?
If you can explain it
again,
would be better.
Okay. Yeah. So let me go through that again real quick, because that is obviously the most important next step in our process, so that if you do want to get hired, because going to the interview is technically skipping that step. Because typically, someone from Upwork, if you're not from Upwork, and you're just open collaboration, you can, you usually don't get paid for the interview, but with Upwork, you can get paid for the interview, which is kind of cool. So, all right, so let's see. This is what I had for you, Ian. And there's 6 components to this proposal. I actually can't. I'm just gonna copy and paste this into the messages, because I can't show you. I can't share my screen. I can't. There's no chat, so I'm just gonna re-copy and paste it here. So for example, the main question I have for you, Ian, is how many hours per week do you want to work? Which would determine the cost of the actual budget.
I can work around 20, 25.
Okay, so yeah. I mean, it's up to you to decide. So to put 20 or 25?
25.
Okay, so we'll start with 25. So if you do 12 times 25 times 4 weeks, you get $1,200 per month. Okay, so that would be question 3. Okay, so question 3, you're saying this is the number, so I'm gonna do 25 hours per week for $1,200 per month, right? And then the finance management, tactical operations, or whatever specific position or work that you're interested in focusing on would be this is the time I'm working on. This is what I want to work on as far as my coordination and involvement. So, you know, I mean, it's certainly high, like the $12 per hour. Again, we do the equivalency where if you're the only person currently from New World besides me, Ian. So, you know, I have no problem with the $12 an hour, but in terms of like the global relationship, everybody in Old World, which includes Africa, Asia, you know, Mamoon's in Bangladesh right now, Nemo's in Nigeria, right? You said Nigeria. So if you are in the Old World, you're getting double overtime for the middle of the night. So the equivalency of $12 an hour in New World would be $6 per hour in Old World. And, you know, I mean, I'd say we're averaging around $4 or $5 an hour. So a $12 per hour rate is going to be a little on the high side. It's perfectly fine for me. The only question is it needs to get approved by the team. So it's up to you to decide your pay rate, and then that will goes to the team, and everybody will vote equally on it, and it's either going to pass or not going to pass, and then we'll let you know. Okay. So let's go through Nemo's proposal here. Let's take a look. Here we go. This is the example. So it doesn't look like we quite have the pay rate yet. So we need pay rate, city, country, jurisdiction, number of hours per week still. So typically, if I go here, I can see your profile in Nigeria is Lekki. Where's Lekki near?
Lekki is in Lagos.
It's in Lagos. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we would go from there. I know you guys can't see my screen, which is kind of annoying, but I was going to go into the jurisdictional livingcost.org, and then I just type in Lagos, and then it'll pull up the jurisdiction. All right, and then I'll add that. So then you just need to tell us how much money do you want per hour, and then how many hours per week do you want to work, and then that will calculate out the monthly budget that we need to put into the budget in order to pay you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Do you want me to answer that now?
You're certainly welcome to. Yeah, that would be fine. Here we go. Lagos.
Okay. I can do 30. I don't know if anyone is allowed to do up to 40 hours.
Yeah, our maximum is 30 hours per week. It has nothing to do. I mean, you can work 100 hours in a week. You can work 60 hours, 40 hours. I mean, sometimes I work 60-hour weeks, but the maximum for your normal, what we call base pay rate, is 30 hours per week, because once you work 31 hours, you work 40 hours a week, you're already getting overtime. So the value of work between 30 to 40 hours or 40 to 50 hours is more than your rate. Does that make sense? So if you're working more than 30 hours, you're already getting overtime. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. So we're allowed to work, like you said, we're allowed to work the overtime if we have the time to, right?
Yes, yeah, you can work as many hours as you want to. It's just not going to be, like, for example, with Ian at $12 an hour, if he works over 30 hours in a week, it would be, instead of $12 an hour, it would be, for 31 hours, it'd be $18 an hour, right?
Oh.
So the value of the time above 30 hours is no longer, like, the 30 hours per week is the maximum amount of time at the base rate, and then it goes up into overtime, because working 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week is insane, right? Like, especially with 8 billion people on the planet, we need to create models that are based on people working less hours and getting paid the same amount of value, because otherwise the economy doesn't work.
Okay, so yeah, 30 hours is fine for me.
Cool. Yeah, and then the pay rate. Do you have any idea, like, what your estimated pay rate would be? I think we wrote down possibly $10. Okay, $10. All right. So let's calculate that out. So let me finish this up. That was 2,117. 2,117 for family jurisdiction. All right. So at $10 an hour times 30 hours a week, $10 an hour times 30 times 4 is going to be $1,200 a month, right? For 30 hours per week. So the jurisdiction, so this is within the family and individual jurisdiction, is definitely high. But the biggest problem that we're going to run into with the team, obviously, is that at $10 per hour, you're getting, and this is nighttime work, which is between 12 midnight to 6 a.m., is going to be equal to $20 per hour. And we're not saying you're not worth $20 an hour. We're just saying that in our budget, are we going to be able to cover those costs? Right?
Okay.
Cool. All right. So let's go into, so again, it's your guys's, you guys are empowered to finish your own proposals. And then once those are verified, we'll send them to the team. And that's not necessarily the goal for, like, there's no pressure to like immediately finish your proposal right in this moment. Okay. So you can do that on your own time. And once it's verified and correct, we'll send it to the team. But we just want to make sure you understand what the next step is and what that means for your decision making. Okay, so are there any other questions on the proposal?
I think I'm good with that explanation. It helps. It will help to fill the proposal.
Cool.
Me too.
Awesome. All right. So let's just go to these interview questions, and then we can be done. And the interview questions are pretty easy, but since we're here, we might as well like get this out of the way and move it forward and see what we can do. And I'm gonna try to do both together. We might as well try, right? And let me turn off the video and everything so I can just get focused on these interview questions, especially when I try to double up. So click on it twice. All right, so I think there's about 10, maybe 12 questions. And some of them I can kind of just do myself since. All right, so the name is Ian, and we've got name. Oh no, I can only do one at a time. Wow. Okay. Wait, no, maybe if I open it in another browser, it'll let me do two at a time. Come on. It'll be much more fun. And oops. Yep, that's gonna work. Cool. All right. So first questions are about communications. Can you communicate English language? You guys both did great on English, which we have a lot of problems with. Fluently, I mean, your English is actually really good, Ian. Your English name was very good as well. So you guys are professional, very, very good. And so we don't need to ask a lot of questions there. Internet and phone connections. I mean, today it's really good in general. How are your all's internet and phone connections? Ian, you want to go first? And this also works with stable electricity, audio.
Sure. Wi-Fi connection is great, and in phone calls I have a little bit an issue because I'm having trouble with receiving phone calls, but I think that I can solve that issue in the next days.
Yeah, we don't really do phone calls. I mean, obviously we can, but we probably just do internet, you know, because it works globally.
Internet is perfect, so
yeah,
there should be no issue with that.
Ian, how about you? Oh, not Ian. I just did Ian. Nemo, how about you with the stable connection for internet and audio, electricity?
Yes, so I have very good internet connection. In fact, I have two internet providers. I have a Wi-Fi from the first internet provider called MTN, and then I have another one from Airtel. So this is so I can alternate in case I have any network issues. So yeah, so I have backups already waiting. And then for light, we have electricity, and then if there is a power cut, I have a backup generator that I can always put up at any time.
Great. All right. So the next question is related to computers. We do have some workers who especially at the beginning, just don't have a computer. And we also allow people to work on their phones, but it's 50% value. So, I mean, do you have a functional working computer that you can do your work on?
Yes, I have a functional computer, a laptop, and also a good phone. So with a great internet connection, everything.
Nema?
Yes, I have a working laptop. That's a MacBook, 2019. No, 219. Yeah, 219 version of a MacBook, and also a working phone, Samsung Ultra 20. Yes, so
Cool.
yeah, I'm very. That's
All right.
that's the device. Yeah.
So the next question is showing up on time. We definitely have workers who schedule and they don't show up. You're not required to show up after you schedule. You're just required to cancel, right? So if you can't show up, you cancel. So just generally showing up on time, being a reliable present today, both of you did amazing. So looks good. Anything you want to add for showing up on time or canceling in advance?
Go ahead. I think you always answer first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have no trouble being on time, and I have that issue that I'm studying also, but I can cancel with a lot of time if I can show up.
Great. Nema?
Yeah, so I don't have any issues showing up in time. I actually clock in 5 minutes before my start so I can prepare myself for my work. And if I have any obstruction or any problem that I'm not able to show up that day, I definitely will send an email, or if we have a communication platform like Slack or Google Workspace, whatever we use, I would send a beforehand and counsel. Yeah, I think that's it. Counsel.
Yeah, we're mainly using Discord, but we are trying to switch to our own our own site to try to have things be more transparent because Discord's not very publicly searchable. Anyways, we'll go over all that later. So the next question relates to deliverables and work output. We have a lot of problems with getting work done and actually completing work and following through to the actual deliverables and output. So also it's kind of like, I mean, we have money. It's just a matter of like when we talk about our base pay rates, this is before overtimes, before bonuses, before doing the work. So when we talk about paying someone, we're talking about paying them their base rate regardless of whether they get the work done. Right? This is how much money you're going to get even if you don't get any work done. So that's where it gets very difficult. Okay, if no work gets done, we're still going to have to pay a bunch of money, and how is it going to fit in the budget? So the question is, do you follow through with the work until the actual deliverable and the actual output, which means you would get bonuses, you would get additional value, and it would be much better. But again, most people don't do this, right? So let's start with Ian. What was that?
But what was the question? If I can follow?
So the question is about deliverables. Let's just start with the vocabulary. Do you understand what a deliverable is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, we assign work. You can work on something and you can move the work forward, but then I would say 80% of the time, the workers just stop and they don't actually go to the deliverable, which is the final output, like actually completing the work. They just work on something and then stop, right? So it's like, do you follow through with work until it is completed for final output or deliverable, like actually going all the way to the end?
Yeah, always going to the end. If I start with something, I always try to finish, not depending on what is happening with me. If I start doing something, I always finish it.
Cool. And one of the hardest things about everything, is that we are trying to work on problems and we have models that you don't necessarily understand, right? So it's like taking responsibility and doing work until the end is sometimes learning and figuring out and solving problems that we don't necessarily know the solutions for, but we have to just keep going, right, until they're actually solved.
Mm-hmm.
For example, right now we're
Yes.
dealing with this, tax amendment, and we're doing an audit for like the last 5 years. So it's like, do we know how to do the full audit and to figure out what needs to be fixed on the taxes? We don't know, right? But we're going to figure it out, and so we can't stop just because we haven't figured it out. All right, Nemo,
Always.
what is your? Do you want to answer the question? Same question. So about deliverables, final output, completing the work, following through.
Okay, so I think one of the problems I have with myself is that if I have something to do and I don't do it, no matter how hard it is, first of all, I like challenges. I think it's a way of I think I have a way of beating myself to make sure that I do what I have to do, no matter how challenging it is. And for me, it's exciting because it helps me learn new things and gives me, knowledge of that thing. So for me, it's about learning. It's about getting a new knowledge or getting a new understanding of something. So, for example, for the tax audit you're talking about, even if I haven't done it before, I'm a problem solver, right? So I always find ways to research and ask questions where I need to ask to make sure that I do what I need to do. I make sure that I get it off my chest or my table, because if I don't, first of all, I'm not going to sleep. I'm not going to be able to sleep because my mind is going to, stay on that thing. I'm going to be thinking of how, maybe 5 ways, 2 ways, 3 ways, 7 ways of, doing that thing, of having the result I'm looking for. So I'm more of a resultsful person.
Yeah.
So I work towards results, not
Yes.
not what is in front of me, but I make sure that I get the results that is required.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, just to respond, because this is obviously one of the core problems we have in the organization, is that, never forget that as an individual, we are not required to do the work. So sometimes the best way to make sure something is completed is an oversight role in reminding whoever is supposed to do the work or whoever has the training to do the work to finish the work, right? So sometimes that can be, as an owner, as a member in a cooperative, you have the power to, and an oversight role, which sometimes people prefer obviously not to do. But sometimes the best way to complete the work is to not do it yourself and to figure out how, as a team, we assign someone else to do it, or whoever can do it the quickest, or to support someone else to do it, right? So anyways, it's always, sometimes we get stuck in the idea like, oh, I need to do this, and there's 7 different ways I could do it. And but maybe all of those trajectories are slower than just helping the other person do it. Another thing that to consider in this context is that any one deliverable isn't very difficult. It might be a challenge, but that's not the problem. The problem in the organization is when we have 10 deadlines and they're all due in the next 2 weeks. How do we juggle all of these deadlines and get all of the work done simultaneously, right? Because we're basically have a startup model. There's like 5 of us on the team. If we hired both of you, it would be 7. But then it's like, how do we get all of the work done with such a small group of people? And there's a lot to do. And I can also see, Nemo, that you're definitely a visionary. You can see the bigger picture of things. You can see how the world needs to be improved. And so sometimes we want to focus on the big picture too. So anyways, all these things get in the way of actually getting the work done, which is normal, right? So getting work done shouldn't be just automatic. It should be a challenge and figuring out as a team how to work together. So anything else on that in terms of following through with the deliverables?
None from me.
Cool. So I think we go on the next question. Let me see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions left. I think one of them we can skip to. All right. So do you complete work with minimal oversight and training? The alternative is, I don't want to even attempt this until I've been trained. So we get a lot of workers who just literally, you assign them, hey, can you work on this? And then they're not going to do it because they don't have enough training to do it perfectly or at all, right? So it's like, obviously in an ideal world, we could train people for 5 years and get them, perfectly established in every single thing so that when they actually do the work, there's no mistakes. But in a realistic space where we have lots of tight timelines, sometimes, or deadlines, you have to just work on something, make mistakes, and then learn while you're going along without as much training. So that's the question. Do you prefer lots of training and to get everything set up before you do the work, or are you comfortable just kind of going in with minimal training, minimal oversight, and just making mistakes? Ian, you want to start?
Yeah, as Neno said, I like challenges also, and it also, of course, I prefer to do things that I know. But if something is needed to do for a certain day, I will give my best to do that job. Even if I don't know, I will look for the solution or the information in internet or ask someone, and I will give my best to do it.
Cool. Nemo?
Yeah, so for me, training is good, but I think I'm one of the, like I mentioned earlier, I like challenges. So in as much as I'm doing it, and then I have someone I can always, reach out to know if I'm doing the right thing at every point, or probably asking questions where I'm not really sure, and also doing research, getting into research to know how that thing is done. I mean, we are a digital world today. Um, you know, everything, or little of it is on the internet. So you can definitely find things you want to do, watch videos on how those things are done, and and all of that. So I think for me, I like, though training is good, if I can get, but I think I can also train myself.
Cool.
By getting into doing it, practically.
Nice. All right.
So and you may never know perfectly.
Yes, indeed. And if I knew how to do everything perfectly, then we wouldn't be in a problem right now, right? But it's like, I don't know either. A lot of times it's like, we just have to figure out how to solve these problems. And in the bigger picture, if our missions of making the world a better place and addressing our current economic and corruption and everything else in the world, climate change, there's anyone who says they know what the solution is lying, because on our model, if you can't verify that it actually works, it's not a solution, right? And the problems all still exist. So until the problems basically are being solved in front of us, the solutions aren't there yet, right? Because the solution has to be able to address the socio-economic experience of society. It can't just be a theoretical solution, right? It has to actually work. So
that's true.
Our starting point is we don't know what the solutions are yet. We don't know how to do our mission, right? So the next question is working above the number of hours you're budgeted. So let's take Ian, for example. You are interested in working 25 hours a week. Nobody's required to work more than their budgeted hours. You have a life, you've got, you're in school, all that. So in your situation, might make sense. You want to, the question is, do you work more than your budgeted hours? 25 hours a week. I'm not planning on working 35. I'm not planning on working 40, 50 hours a week. So that's the question. We can start with you. Do you plan on working more than the 25 hours per week that you're budgeting?
I can work even more than 25 hours. I prefer that because I have other things to do also. But if there's a due date for next week and we have to do a lot of stuff, probably I will stay more hours working to finish that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then same question for you, Nemo. So you've already sort of implied that you're interested in potentially working 40, 50 or more hours per week if, we can figure out how to collaborate on this all. So, and you already have all your own nonprofits and everything. So, we can talk about how that can be related. If it's basically the same thing, you might be able to track the hours together. So what is your interest in terms of working more than 30 hours a week?
So working, I have interest in working more than 30 hours if only it will benefit the company. Because for me, it's about the goals and objectives of the company being realized. if we have more work to do, I mean, in certain places you see companies will require people to work overtime, you know, and maybe because there is a deadline to be met and all of that. I don't have any problem with that. I definitely, you know, will be very happy to, you know, oblige to work more hours. But if it's going to be a strain to the company, I don't have any interest. I mean, it wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't interest me to do that. So it's
Cool.
actually about what works for the company, what makes the company grow better, and at that time, what the company can, you know, will be needing or requiring me to do.
Great,
You
great.
know, so
All right.
sorry.
That sounds good. That sounds good. And overall, just to make sure it's clear, nobody is ever required to work during overtime or to work at all, right? No one's ever required to work. And firing people is quite difficult. You know, we come to consensus and get agreement on removing people from the budget. So the same is true also getting people in the budget can be, you know, decision-making process as well. Anyway, so do you follow policies or prefer to just move forward quickly without learning policies? So we have a policy for everything. Policies are, a lot of people just get over the policies, but that's the question. Do you put in effort to try to learn the policies and follow them? We have policies that are, you know, we're breaking a bunch of policies right now, even. Like we're supposed to be doing our rhythm, so I can get that started. We're supposed to be taking breaks for missing breaks. Like these are all policies that would be, you know, some of our problems that we're having right now. So anyways, yes, policies. Ian, you want to start?
Yeah. I'm always trying to learn the policies, the rules, following them. I think they are part of the company, and they, if they are there, they are for a reason, and it's necessary to follow them, because if not, it will be all trouble. So, yeah.
Cool. And Nema?
Yes. For me, company policies are company policies, and they must be adhered to. Because, like Ian said, I mean, they're there for a reason, and that's what actually makes the company, you know, creates the culture, that work culture that you come to see, you know, everything. So company policies are actually what drives the company. So if anybody should, you know, should adhere to something, it needs to be with the company policy, because it's very important to moving the company forward and, you know, driving the work culture in that company.
Great. Coolio, yes. And we'll just keep trying to improve those policies. And also all of our policies can always be changed with a simple proposal and vote. You know, we agree to all our policies, and the packets I sent have a lot of our most important HR policies, which are both there to empower the worker as well as make sure everyone's accountable. All right, are we able to schedule efficiently? So this is the last few questions is just on your skills. Global scheduling experience with, you know, multiple time zones across the world and coordinating schedules and all across the world. Ian, you want to start?
Yeah. I can work flexible, different hours according to the different time zones.
Well, yeah, but the question is about, it's not about you, right?
Okay.
The question is about your experience and ability to coordinate and schedule, let's say, 5 other people in 5 different time zones all across the world to actually have a meeting.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
So the question is just on team scheduling across the world, global team schedule, which can be a nightmare sometimes.
Yeah, like the ability to coordinate different time zones, you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sure. I in my previous work, I used to coordinate different meetings with people from Europe, from North America, and
cool.
I think that I can do really good with that, and also knowing and acknowledging the different time zones is interesting. So, yeah.
Great. Nema.
Yes, I have experience in scheduling in different time zones, and also using, different apps to scheduling apps. I don't know if the company has any the one for them. I'm happy to learn. And yeah, in Well Night, I was an acquisition manager, so I was responsible for scheduling interviews, and also responsible for interviewing those mental health providers, and basically hiring and onboarding them into the company. So I was privy to using Calendly, Savicall, Simple Meet, and all the ones like that. So, but if they're new ones, I'm definitely, as a fast learner, I'm definitely able to learn very fast and pick up on it to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I won't go into all the details, but the core of our model is that we take the entire planet, we break up the 24 hours into 8 equal octants, each one 3 hours. And currently, right now, we are in what's called the Andromeda.
End of break. Time to start. Please get focused on the session.
So anytime we say Andromeda, that's right now. In terms of, it doesn't matter what your local time, it's the same. All right, so next question, virtual assistant. Do you have experience with virtual assistant, real-time, on-call, working with executives, administrators, whatever? Ian?
Yeah, as I previously mentioned, in my previous work with Carlson Levick, I used to visually assist a project manager, and according to that, scheduling meetings, helping with the to the communication area, multiple tasking, and yeah.
Nice. And Nema?
Yes, I do have virtual assistant real-time working. At Well Night, I worked as acquisition manager, which actually I rose to that position, and I was working directly with the CEO of the company, interviewing the people, setting up meetings for him, and also I was able to make calls, respond to calls and all of that. So yes, I do have virtual assistant experience. Yes, very much.
Great. All right. So I think there's 2 questions left. No, 3. We're almost done. So, and it's taking obviously twice as long because we're doing double. So thanks for doing it together. Let's see. So real-time session position. So this is when you put a meeting together, you have a meeting with the group. Let's say you have 7 people. There's note-taking, timekeeping, facilitation, just like coordinating the decision-making process. So do you have experience with running meetings and taking on meeting positions? Ian?
I don't have a lot of experience running meetings. Usually someone else was doing it, but I can learn very fast doing that stuff because I really like taking care of a lot of people, and I don't know if taking care is the exact word. It's like distributing roles and running a group.
Great. And Nema?
So I basically was the youth lead
Time to pause.
ambassador.
Please stop.
for
Close your eyes.
Count.
Count 1, 2,
and
3,
during
4,
this
5.
time, I was
Open your eyes.
always the one running the meetings. That we had virtual events on Zoom, virtual events on Meet, and on StreamYard, and all of that. I was responsible, though I kind of was, doubling, as the speaker at the event, and also the person in the background coordinating, a whole lot of things. So yeah, I have experience in doing that and setting up meetings and all of that. Yes.
Cool. All right. So last two here we have Google Documents. So this includes Google Drive, documents, spreadsheets, financial formulas. Ian, yeah, spreadsheets, Google Docs. Like you sort of mentioned before that you do some.
Both spreadsheets, documents. I'm used to it. I have experience also with the Office pack. Yeah.
And did you say you had, I can't remember if it was you, if you said you had any experience or interest in crypto and stock trading and budgets and, financial data? Is that...
Yeah. I like the topic. I usually read about it. I'm not really into it. I'm not putting money for, let's say. I don't have money there, but yeah, I'm really interested in it.
Cool. All right, Nema.
Yes, so I'm experienced in Google Workspace, Google Doc, and spreadsheet, but not basically in the financial formulas. But I'm happy to learn. I'm a fast learner, so I can always get. The only thing I was using spreadsheet to do was data entry and data saving, leads, sieving, and all of that. For example, that's what we used in collecting our leads into, and we basically, they were created, into different forms for us to use. And I think I did a few based on what I had learned. And but I wouldn't say I'm an expert, in that. But very well, I'm good with Google Workspace and Google Doc, Drive, Google Form, and then and every other one. And I'm also good with Microsoft Office. Yes.
Please stop and get ready. Now inhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale, 1, 2, 3, pause. Inhale together, 1, 2, 3, exhale, relax.
All right. So, I think that's pretty much it. Like, I don't know if you want to say anything about the last question. The last question is just like, working fast, typing fast, solving problems quickly, juggling multiple responsibilities quickly and efficiently. It seems like both of you are pretty quick, but if you want to add anything there, you can, Ian. Otherwise, we're done with the questionnaire.
No, as I previously said, I used to work a lot with my computer. I was a freelancer, so I have ability with that, and yeah, multitasking also.
Yeah.
So,
Nema?
I will fit there.
Yeah, I'm good with multitasking. I prioritize very well, and also I can type, very well. I have various laptops that I've used physically, so I know how to type, and yeah, a lot of other things. I'm a very I'm a team player, so I love an environment with a good work culture, and where the team, we help each other, we work with each other, and all of that. Yeah.
Cool. So that's everything on my side. I don't know if Mamoon, you had anything you wanted to add. If you had any other question. Otherwise, as far as the interview stuff is concerned, this is great. You guys are scoring very high on everything. You would rank pretty high. So on our model, Mamoon, are you there? Maybe we lost Mamoon. But in our model, basically your ranking, which is determined based on your answers and your skill and your pay rate, your skill side is very high. Obviously, fully qualify, if not more so, for all the work. You guys would be amazing, but it's like the question isn't about just your guys' skill, it's also fitting in you into the budget. So I think the primary issue of concern and just discussion and understanding is how to deal with the budget. All of our budget information is completely transparent. We'll give you any information you want about it. We oversee hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of other organization, other people's money, but it's not our money, right? So we oversee tons of money, but we only have our, what was it, like $30,000 that's our own, right? And we break that down into our monthly budgets. It comes out to a few $1,000s per month because we don't have any income, right? We still need to launch, we need to get clients, we need to get more income. So the bottom line is, if you wanted to get paid $2,200 a month, right? Is that correct? What am I getting?
Time to pause. Please stop.
12
Close your eyes.
hours.
Count.
12 hours an
1,
hour times
2, 3,
25.
4, 5. Open your eyes.
This times 4 is 1,200. Yeah. Okay. So, and then we have $10 times 30 times are they both the same? Okay, wow, comes out to exactly the same for both of you. So it is $2,400 per month. So let's say the first month we paid you half of what you're asking for because you were just getting started, you have no idea what you're doing, you're just like, okay, you're not meeting deadlines, I don't know, whatever. For whatever reason, if you only worked half of the time, you didn't work your full time, then we paid $1,200, as an example. And then the next month you wanted the full $2,400 per month, and that would be where we'd be budgeting, like, I don't know, let's say $4,000 for 2 months, $3,000 to $4,000 for 2 months, which is a lot of money, right? I don't really have a major concern about paying that. Other people in the team might, but if the work gets done. So if all the work got done for $3,000, $4,000, that's fine. We have the money to pay that. We can get launched. We can move everything forward, but there's no guarantee the work is going to get done. So the problem comes into how to budget $3,000 to $4,000 of money, which is a lot of money for us. It would represent like almost like 10%, if not 15% of literally every dime we had. What happens after a couple months if the work doesn't get done? That's the problem. Because so if we are able to get the work done, we're able to bring in income, we can get clients, and that we can pay you even more than that, right? So the problem isn't necessarily the money, the problem is just getting started. But yes, Nemo, what's up?
Okay. So my question would be at this point, right?
Yeah.
What will the company be able, because it's about a common ground, right? What will the company be able to pay us? We have said what we have put out there. I mean, for me, it's not set in stone. We can always do whatever we need to do to be able to make sure that the company still keeps running, because we don't want to start working first, second month, and then the third month we're like, oh, we can't pay you again, and all of that. We can do something that we will be able to work, and instead of going down, we go higher and all of that. So for me, I'm able to come down on my pay and see what works for the company.
Okay,
yeah, I mean, obviously, but I didn't hear a question. Was there a question or just a comment?
Please stop, stand up, and stretch and move around.
So the
for
question
30
is,
seconds.
what is the company able to pay us? I mean, I said $10, so if the company says, okay, we can be able to pay you $6, $7, $8, so I mean, that will always also help me to say, okay, I mean, I'm ready to go. We can always go up and all of that. So what is the company able to give to us? I think that would help us.
Yeah. So
I mean, if I'm speaking your mind.
Exactly. So all I can say is I can give you the information of our budget, right? And then I can give you the current, what I would call like the averages about what is currently going on in the organization. Okay. So I can't share my screen, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. We'll just try to figure this out. If you wanted to, I can get the whole budget and actually create a, link it, or not link it, but like upload it, so you can have it. So the easy answer is there's Ate, there is Lucy, there is Joyce, there's Mamoon, which I would almost not count, and then we have Sandra, right? So then there's myself, Jay. So I kind of like am almost irrelevant. I'm a whole nother level of disaster. But in terms of Ate, Lucy, and Joyce, who are all in Africa, your Africa, and then you have Mamoon's in Bangladesh, Sandra is also in your Africa. So Mamu and Sandra don't really do work, right? So Ate, Lucy, and Joyce are the three that are doing work. If you average their pay rates in terms of their budget, it is in the range of, I don't know, $4 to $5 per hour. And then you get double time on that. They're getting, basically, $8 to $10 per hour. Okay, so just slightly under what Ian is asking for, right? Because Ian is asking for $12 an hour, which for Old World works out to $6 per hour, right? So Ian is asking for $6 an hour in relationship to the current workers of Ate, Lucy, and Joyce, right? So in the context of asking for $10 an hour in Old World, that would be equivalent to Ian asking for $20 an hour, right? So Ian's asking for $12 an hour, and then you're asking for $10 per hour, which in New World terms would be $20 per hour, right? So that is the basic averages in terms of understanding the decision making. So we need consensus between me, Ate, and Lucy, and Joyce, and Mamoon, and Sandra, and then there's also the HR board, which in my perspective,
please stop, close your eyes, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
And I want to make sure it's very, very clear that both of you are more overqualified than Ate, Lucy, or Joyce. Ate is actually the most capable of the workers, but she is kind of like, she's been around for a few years and she's kind of lost some of her motivation and interest in not being able to complete the work. Like as a team, the four of us are not able to do the work. And it's very, very frustrating for all of us, right? It's just like, oh my God, this is a problem. We need to either hire more people, we need to get people who have more experience or better and pay them more, right? So there's no question that we can justify paying you more, but we still have to get agreement and consensus with the team about getting started with the budget. So hopefully that makes sense in relationship to that. I think overall our budget is in the range of, I don't know, $3,000 to $4,000 a month. But we're talking about trying to cut that because we're not bringing in income, and we have to figure out what we're going to do long term if we're not going to improve our short term money circumstances. So that also includes some of our business costs because we have like $500,000 of business costs a month, taxes, all that. So anyways, that kind of gives you an overview of the current budget and the current situation going on. But then in the end, it's your decision. You get to decide your own pay rate.
Yeah, Jay, can I add? I can actually do I can do 6. I mean, I'm interested in it. I'm interested in learning new things. I'm interested in this, and I would do 6. It's fine.
Yeah. Again, it's up to you, and you can always change it. And just so you know, your qualifications, we've hired about, I think there's 5 people on the HR board. So the HR board has final decision making over everything, and we can escalate things to that level if we feel that the current workers are, making decisions based on personal needs as opposed to the organizational needs. But the HR board qualifications are higher. We pay people on the HR board even $10-$20 an hour because they are, like yourself, very experienced and have a lot of things that they do. But they're only, even though they want more money, they want $10-$20 an hour, they are only working 3 to 6 hours a month, right? They're reviewing the budget, they're reviewing the overall context. So I just like to have understanding that your qualifications are at the level of the HR board and decision makers, but you're interested in working 30 hours a week, right? So the goal is how do you balance that and figure that out, how to fit it in the budget, especially when we're not making money. Once we make money, then everything can change. Cool. Anyways, did I answer your questions?
Time
Nemo?
for breath. Please stop and get ready. Now inhale. 1, 2, 3.
I'm really ready to
1, 2,
make sure that
3. Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3.
I do what I have to do. I mean, to make sure the company moves forward. Like I said, I want to be an asset to the company, and I'm ready to come down with my budget. So 6 is fine.
Cool. All right. So anyways, but just update. Let me know if you have questions in updating your actual pay proposal, right? And we can go over that. But let's go to Ian, see if you have any other questions or updates.
No, I had the same question as Nemo said. I'm just curious about like meeting the deadlines. It always depends on us, or probably my job depends on what someone else doing.
That's the thing in the co-op, because we're a cooperative and we're all basically owners in the organization. For example, you both automatically, if you give us a crypto MetaMask, right, for this hour and a half you're spending today, you automatically get ownership value and your equity. Even though you haven't been approved in the budget, you're still going to get that value in your equity, right? So as owners, we are responsible for the entire team, right? We are responsible for making sure all of the work gets done, not just what's assigned to ourselves. And that's,
of course.
Yeah, so that's definitely.
My question is, if, like, we divide work, right?
Yes.
Or everyone is doing everything.
The quick, easy answer is the second, that everybody's doing everything, because, you know, although we are dividing work and we're assigning people, right, in the end, it's all about what you take responsibility for. And then typically what we do is we work in teams. So, you know, me and you would work and schedule together, work together until you learn how to do it yourself. Then you can go off and work on it on your own. But we're working in buddy teams and working together to solve the problems and work as a team. So, you know, I would say, you know, let's say if we have 6 people on the team, we could break up into 3 two-person teams that would take on different assignments, but you're still not ever really working on something completely by yourself unless you fully learn it and know how to do it. But, you know, you're always working with at least part of the team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood.
Because it's you know, but the hard part though is the accountability. You know, since we all and this is where it comes into our more complicated policies, which if you read through the packet, as a team, how do we hold ourselves accountable to the deadlines and actually completing the work?
Time to pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
And this comes in the fact that we're not in an office together. We can't really look over each other's shoulders and make sure you're doing anything. So everybody's basically, even though we're all working together or trying to do this, in the end, you're in front of your own computer, in your own house, in your own space, in your own life. We can't control people. We're not even attempting to control people, right? So the consensus and decision making in the team has led us to the only reason work ever gets done at this time is what we call a pay stop. It's the deadline. If the work doesn't get done by the deadline, it has to affect people's pay. Otherwise, they just don't care, right? Because we've been doing this for almost a decade with the whole team, probably at least like 6-7 years, and it's like for years and years and years, just nothing ever got done. Like, you know, we just endlessly paying people to not do work. So once we instituted the deadlines with, you know, the repercussions for not meeting the deadline, then people actually will do the work. So the question is, okay, how do you get the work done when even that doesn't work, which is kind of sort of like our situation now. But we can go over the details of how that all works, but the key is that with a new hire, it's a balance where you want the new hire to be part of the team and be part of the deadlines, because we're all working as a team to meet the deadlines, but then also exempt the new worker from the repercussions of the deadlines to give everybody a certain amount of time to learn the work before before it would affect your pay, in essence, if you're not going to complete the work by the deadlines, right? So that's the other component of it, is actually the exemptions from the deadlines for the new workers, and that gets into the more nuance and the details of the policies. But we came up with that policy because, you know, it's not necessarily fair for new workers to jump into a situation where we're already past taxes deadline and all these situations going, we have all this work to do, and the new workers are like brand new, and like, why should the deadlines affect them when they didn't even get a chance to do the work yet? But at the same time, you don't want to completely exempt the new workers, because if they have no interest in meeting the deadline, sometimes they can distract other workers from doing the work, right? So it's sort of a balance. So hopefully all that makes sense overall.
Yes.
And we'll just slowly continue to learn it. But the bottom line is just trying to get consensus, trying to get agreement on the budget, and moving it all forward and seeing where it evolves.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think we're pretty much done. The last thing, I don't know if Mamoon ever came back, if he has any other questions, but the last thing for me that I'm really interested in adding to our interview in core values and policies is
Time to take a break. Please stop, write down whatever you were about to say, and take a break for 6 minutes.
All right, we're at an hour and a half, so we probably should take a break and or just stop. But just the last question I'm very interested in adding is in relationship to interest and passion. So I don't know a lot about your situation, Ian, so I'm very interested in your situation and your interest in the type of work that we do. But when we heard from you, Nemo, your interests and passions in your existing nonprofit and what you're doing seem to be very aligned, and the fact that you already are interested in climate change, you're already interested in migration issues, which, I mean, whoever even says that, I mean, for me, migration is the core of economic evolution, right? So if we want to change our economy, it needs to be based on empowered migration, because that's the foundation of preventing basically economic manipulation of local communities, right? So, and then obviously peace, security, all that. So the point that I'm trying to make is that hiring people who are actually interested in the mission and the work, I think, makes a huge impact. Currently, we have no policy that a worker who's hired to do work is required to want to actually be in alignment with the vision and the mission of the work itself. But maybe that could be a good thing to add. So anyways, that's the only other thing that I'm interested in discussing and talking about and adding into the future. But other than that, I think we're pretty much done. I'm fine either taking a break. We could go into this passion interest discussion, or we could just stop and check out, or I can help you with your proposals. Those are all the options. So yeah, what would you guys like to do, Ian, Nemo?
I think it would be good to do the proposal. Helping us with the proposal will be great.
Okay, yeah. So you want to go over your proposal? Do you want to take a quick break, like a 5 or 10 minute break before we go into the proposal? Just because we've been going for an hour and a half. Typically, under our policies, take a 5-minute break every 30 minutes, and we also do stretches every 15 minutes. So that's one of the policies we missed here. And I did reset the rhythm. We call that the rhythm, and which is why we're supposed to be on break right now. Do you guys want to take a quick break and then get into the proposals and get those completed and move forward from there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that would be good.
Great. So let's take a 5-minute break, and then when we come back, we'll start with Ian. We'll go through your proposal. We'll try to finalize it, send it to the team, see where that goes, and then we can do you as well, Nemo. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. 5-minute break.
Great.
End
It's
of
4
break.
o'clock.
Time to start. Please get focused on the session.
Recording in progress.